A banner outside portrayed the police as criminals, as an inquiry found the Met's undercover operations were intrusive and unjustified. People like Jessica hide their identity because they feel they were sexually abused by the state. She'd entered a relationship with a police officer who was spying on her.
I never gave consent to sleep with, to have sex with an undercover officer.
And how did you feel when you found out that this person was an undercover police officer?
Sick to my stomach, to be honest. I was 19, he was my first sexual relationship, and to think at the time he was 24 years old. I found out then that he was 32, married, undercover police officer.
Please clear the area. Go further away from this area.
This first tranche of the inquiry examines a time when Northern Ireland troubles threatened the mainland and there were Cold War fears of communism. But there was also general unrest, and mostly the targets weren't serious criminals or terrorists, just activists.
Trade unions, environmental campaigns, political parties that are perfectly legal have been seen as a legitimate target in a war against their own citizens.
The report identifies 4 areas that should have been addressed when this unit was set up. First, the inevitable intrusion into the lives of many hundreds of people. Second, that any undercover officer would be a trespasser on people's property. Third, they'd have to take up positions of responsibility in the groups they infiltrate, and where would that lead? And fourth, the spies' use of deceased children's identities would surely lead to public concern if discovered.
The unanswered question in this first report is who knew at what level that these things were going on. The report author certainly thinks that the likes of Home Secretaries and Met Commissioners should have been told. But there's also an inference that even if they weren't, they should have been able to work it out.
We know that the future tranches are going to show much more recent spying on people, and I'd be very, very surprised if it wasn't still going on.
So what has changed?
Do police officers still use deceased babies' names?
Absolutely not.
Do police officers sleep with women who do not know that they're police officers?
Absolutely not. I must say that it is absolutely abhorrent, the activities of those officers in the sexual relationships that they had.
But what about disruptive groups like Just Stop Oil? Are they today's targets?
Every time there is a consideration for deploying undercover officers, the regime now for checks and balances is completely different to what it was 40 to 50 years ago.
So you're not denying that you might infiltrate a group that's protesting against climate change?
All I'm going to say is that we would never confirm or deny anything in relation to undercover policing because it would compromise it.
So today's activists might be spied on, but in a more regulated way.
Today's report is just the beginning.
And this is just an interim report. The full inquiry findings are expected in 3 years' time. Jason Farrell, Sky News.